Hi, I'm Israel Anderson. Welcome to another Table Talk. In today's video, we're going to start going through a whole new series that I've been working on for some time, and this will be released in February of next year, 2024, just a few days away, a few weeks away. And I want to take you through the preliminaries to get your feedback so that we can improve this. This is going to end up being one of the flagship studies that really conclusively proves that Yahweh is Satan, the adversary, the devil, the beast in Revelation 13. Christianity teaches that Yahweh, of course, is God. Whoops. And we just don't find that to be the case from the text. So let's dig into this. Actually, you know what's happening right now is that a lot of Christians are starting to say that Yahweh is Jesus. And this has not been a historical position in the church at all, in tiny little pockets. But really the group that started to really call Yahweh Jesus is actually the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. That's their theology. Lately, it's been creeping into the body at large. And I'm seeing more and more apologists and scholars start to stand up and speak out against that. In fact, I just saw, I didn't look at the video, but I saw Bart Ehrman has even released something about this. It's not a historical position of Christendom to believe that Yahweh is Jesus at all. And they're relying on John 8:58, where Jesus says, before Abraham existed, I exist, which they like to use, before Abraham was, I am, and then try to turn that into a name synonymous with the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh's name, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah, however you want to pronounce it. John 8:58 doesn't say that. It's simply a tense. And both Yahweh and Jesus can make the same tense statement. It's not a name, it's a tense. Before Abraham existed, I exist. Right? You can even say I existed. Both are suitable. Not a historical view of the church. It's not what John 8:58 says. And we will release a video, a study on John 8:58 sometime soon, because it's really growing in popularity as a proof text that Yahweh is Jesus. Well, here we're going to look at what Yahweh does and what Jesus has to say about that behavior. And if you think Yahweh is God today, you're not going to think that by the end of the study. There's no way you can, because Jesus certainly didn't. And so I guess you can either be in alignment with Jesus or in alignment with Christian tradition that says that Yahweh is God. And, if Christianity is saying that the devil is God, well, we've got a whole lot of problems. So we're going to start off with some context. We're going to read some texts. We're going to start to look at all of the comparisons between what Yahweh did and what Jesus said. We're going to talk about the snakes. Obviously, 2 snakes in a desert. There's 2 snakes involved here. And a little bucket there is just where I shove everything that I'm not ready to assemble into the mind map yet. So we'll get back to that. So let's start with some context here. And thank you, before we go any further, to all of my Founders Club members who are in the ticker below. This is something I set up a few months ago. I took about a 2-year break from everything. When I was teaching all the time, I was financially supported by my friends. And that's not happening right now, except for a few. If you'd like to kind of kick that back off again, let me have the financial support so I can do this every single day. Then please follow the links there or up here, andersondiscoveries.com. You'll find information about that there. Thank you. And thank you to every single person that has done that. Oh, there's one other announcement. Somebody, who I'm sure is probably going to watch this video, paid for a Bible but didn't complete the order form. All right. So I don't know who you are. I know your initials are JB. I don't have an email for you. I don't have any way of contacting you. But if you placed an order for a Bible, let me know so I can send it to you. All right. We have these incredible Bibles. These are the God's Word translation. I should take this out of the wrap-up because this is like the sample one, but maybe I'll just leave it for right now. But these are beautiful, beautiful Dura Valor Bibles in the, you can't really see it there, but the God's Word translation, silver gilded edge. And they are absolutely beautiful. And the God's Word translation is my recommended translation for new people to the Bible, especially for kids. If you're new to the Bible, if you've never studied the Bible before, and you're brand new, get a God's Word translation, and you can do that at godsipod.com, godsipod.com. I don't think we have a link on Anderson Discoveries, but we should. All right, we're 5 minutes in. I want to keep these Table Talk videos to about 15 minutes so people watch them, because people look at the time and they go, oh, I'm not watching an hour. And so we're just going to break these up into smaller videos. So we're going to stop around the 15-minute mark, no matter where we're up to. Let's dive into this a little bit. We're setting the context. All of these things are going to change, especially on your feedback. Leave comments. So I know, hey, better talk about this, or you didn't talk about that, or, explain this more, et cetera, okay? Major points. Yahweh removes the Hebrews to transform them into an army. You probably never heard that before, but as you read the story of the Exodus, you see that's exactly Yahweh's agenda. Yahweh promises to take the Hebrews to a new land, a promise he breaks. They begin a 3-week journey that takes them 40 years. 2.5 million leave Egypt, just 2 enter the promised land. Now, that's not 2.5 left and 2 million enter, okay? I'll make sure it's really clear. 2 individuals, we know their names, Joseph and Caleb. 2.5 million people leave Egypt. Yahweh promised them, I'm going to take you to a new land. Out of 2.5 million people, 2 into the promised land. Now, that's a broken promise. If I lend you $2.5 million and you pay me $2 back, you don't get to say, what do you mean? I kept my promise. I paid you back. No, obviously you did not. That's fraud. But a lot of Christians actually take that argument. Well, no, 2 of them did enter the promised land. Dude. Yahweh severely mistreats the Hebrews unto genocide. Jesus describes Yahweh's actions as beyond evil. And we'll get to it, but, this passage was actually a passage that we've talked about for years and years, but not in a big way. And it was just a few months ago from now, like earlier this year, like July, August, September, I was starting to really get prompted, just intuition. Go and look at that passage, see if there's more there. Like I want something really concrete. And as I did that, it just started exploding in front of me. And that's what's led to this new study. 2 gardens and a snake and 2 snakes in a desert are going to go together. And it's really going to be quite incredible. All right. We continue with some context. Yahweh. Yahweh chose the strong and hardy Hebrew laborers to transform into a military superpower. He purges the weak in flesh and the strong in will through starvation, dehydration, unceasing sun exposure in a desert, and just plain murder. Yahweh's preferred human is a gullible lemming that will shut up and do what he is told and worship him as God. No questions asked. His behavior throughout the Old Testament is steal, kill, destroy. He makes lots of oaths, this Yahweh guy. Makes lots of oaths, doesn't care about keeping them. Yahweh incessantly murders people for the most trivial of reasons. The people that originally left Egypt will not be entering the promised land, except 2 people who were fully loyal to Yahweh. Takes 2.5 million people out of Egypt to bring them to a promised new land, kills all but 2. Some obviously dying through natural causes, many not. Many just outright murdered or killed through starvation, dehydration. Yahweh is solely responsible for the health and well-being of the Hebrews, doesn't take responsibility for them at all. Worst kind of father ever. And he lies incessantly without remorse. Of course, we see in John 8:44, Jesus saying that the God of the Jews is the lying murderer from the beginning. Yeah. He lied and murdered right from the Garden of Eden. And here, all throughout the Genesis, he lies. He says oaths that he has no intention of keeping. He knows what he's doing. He lies and he murders nonstop. I mean, when we say that his behavior is steal, kill, destroy, how can you possibly argue against that? Like, his entire character, his personality, his modus operandi, his MO, all throughout the Old Testament is steal, kill, destroy. Of course, the Lord tells us in John 10 that that is the enemy, the thief that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Let's look at the Hebrews now. They are miserable from the start. They have no idea what's going on. They're being marched around in circles in a sweltering desert. Now, they don't know how far away this land is, but of course we today do. And you can just get on Google Maps and go, well, Egypt to Jerusalem. Like, how far is this? It's about 3 weeks. It's not far at all. Now, you might say, wow, hang on, man. There's a lot of people, there's cattle, there's women and children. There's a lot of 2.5 million people in the desert. It's an awful lot of people. It's slow going. Sure, I agree. Let's give them 3 months then. Let's give them 3 freaking years. Which is just absurd. 40 years. There's one purpose, to kill off everyone that came out of Egypt that knows the truth. Right? Even killed Moses, murdered Moses. Most Christians don't even know that Yahweh murdered Moses. You tell people that and it is like, they think you're, you out of your mind? What are you talking about? Got to read the Bible, got to study the Bible, not just read the Bible, got to study the Bible, memorize the Bible. There's 2.5 million people. So 171 are dying every day on average. 171 people. Obviously, a whole bunch of those are going to be from natural causes. It's going to be older people that are amongst that. It's going to be weak and frail people, sick people, but they probably wouldn't have died if they weren't in the desert, at least not that early, right? So you're looking pretty much at 100% premature death of every single person that ever died, right? Would they have died if they're still back in Egypt? No, probably not. Eating real meat, eating real protein, real fat, which they didn't get in the desert. Yeah. Only 2 individuals that left Egypt are alive at the end of their journey, Caleb and Joseph. If we estimate an average distance of just 5 to 10 miles per day over 40 years, that's approximately 14,600 days. This would result in a total of 73,000 to 146,000 miles walked. Okay, that's an awful lot of time. Now, you see, this is why we do these before we do the study, because I just realized here, and this is how I draw my eyes to things. Needs distance added. The distance added from Egypt to Jerusalem or thereabouts. From just days after they left, they are crying out for food and water. They ask for fish, for bread, and are killed for it. Right, questions to ask. Here's some questions that we should be asking ourselves when we're looking at this story, right? Why is Yahweh now killing the same people he supposedly just freed from slavery? Were the Hebrews really the slaves of the Egyptians? It doesn't actually seem likely, and there's no historical record of that. And by the way, there's a lot to say about the historicity of the Exodus, and we'll get to that in the main video. We'll talk about it here before we make the main video, and go over some of those details. Very interesting stuff. If the Hebrews are God's chosen people, why would Yahweh murder them all? Why would he murder them all? The chosen people. Okay, kill them all. What? What? Why? Why does Jesus speak of Yahweh in such unflattering ways if Yahweh is the good guy? Jesus calls Yahweh directly beyond evil. Beyond the evil of human fathers and the way they would treat their sons. Okay, so we'll close this up for now. This whole section, you got any suggestions here? It's really dry here and my trackpad is not very responsive. It needs to be a little more humidity in the air. But if you've got any comments on the context that we just put there, please let us know. So let's look at some of the text now. I thought might try something a little bit different. We're going to read through the bulk of the text that we're going to address and reference in this study before we start going through all the points. And my reasoning in this is that, and we're at 15 minutes, so I'm going to tie this up. We're going to read a couple of these texts here, so we'll be here another 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll tie it up. The reason I want to start to give you some of the text up front, we're giving you a little bit of context here, but now let's read through the text, because I know that what's going to happen is you're going to start to connect dots yourself before I even have a chance to talk about them. And that's what I want happening. I want you to start working this out yourself, which is why I tell people all the time to read the text. And I run a ministry to get people to read the Bible, listen to the Bible and all that kind of thing, because if you're not doing it yourself, you're just missing out. You've got to really dig in yourself, okay? Now, maybe I'll make this full screen because it's a little bit small. There we go. How's that? And I prefer it when I'm not on the camera. So it's a win-win. All right. So we are looking here at the text, okay? We're looking here in the Old Testament and what Yahweh has done. We're starting off in Exodus. Exodus chapter 16. We are 45 days after leaving Egypt. All of these dates that we're going to go through here are fairly precise because it's written into the text, okay? And I'll just get rid of that because we're running out of time here. 45 days after leaving Egypt, the entire population of 2.5 million Hebrews feels betrayed. The entire company of Israelites murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of Yahweh in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." I find that incredibly fascinating. It's 45 days in and they already know what he's doing. It's funny how the Christian 2,000 years later hears these stories at church and things and can't work it out. They worked it out 45 days in. Maybe listen to what the Hebrews themselves had to say, right? There is this this thing, I don't have a better word for it right now, in Christianity, this idea that, these were all bad, evil people. They were just living in Egypt, man. And Yahweh comes and takes them out. He's not taking any responsibility for them. There's 45 days in. They're going to be stuck here for 40 years. But 45 days, a month and a half in, Yahweh's not taking responsibility for them. He's not feeding them. He's not providing water. And man, already, just 6 weeks in, they know something is up. And what do they say? For you have brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Well, they got it. I don't know how we miss these things in the text. It is very, very clear. It's very obvious. It's plain. Yahweh's intention here is to kill them, to kill off all the weak and all those of strong will, those that will stand up to him. They all died. Only the two most loyal of all 2.5 million people actually got to enter the promised land. So if this is some kind of a picture of salvation and who God picks to enter the kingdom, we're in deep trouble. 2.5 million leave, 2 finally enter the promised land. All right? So that's Exodus 16. Let's look at Exodus 17 here, and we'll be done for today, and we'll come back tomorrow with some more, okay? So Exodus 17, 1 through 3. I hope that's correct. Is that 1 through 3? Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's 1 through, okay. It's just a coincidence. So here, but I do need to fix this. See, this is where I do this thing, so I come back. So let's read this. Exodus 17, 1 through 3. The whole assembly of the Israelites, the whole community of the Israelites, traveled on their journey from the wilderness of Sin according to Yahweh's instruction. Now, I'm going to write a little note here because these highlighted portions, these bold portions that I've emphasized, are important. According to Yahweh's instruction. They're just doing what they're told. There's a lot of people here that are just strong men. Like, could you imagine you're living in your village and some stranger comes in and accosts one of your guys who everyone knows is a murderer and is a little bit suspect, and convinces him, so this person of not good character, right, convinces him to say, hey, we're all leaving. We're going to go to a different place to live. Why? So they're all acting under Yahweh's instruction, which means Yahweh is completely and utterly responsible for them. But you've got strong men who would have been leading a family just going like, what? Like, WTF, man? Like, excuse me? No, we're not going anywhere. Who the heck are you? What's going on here? Oh, no, it's all right. He's promised he's going to take us to this new land. It's going to be great. It's flowing with milk and honey. It's all incredible. Oh, okay. And so they relent and they go, and then they find out, hey, here's a steaming pile, man. Nothing like that is going on. We're just going to die here. Yeah. All right. Listen to what the Hebrews have to say. Stop judging the Hebrews. Stop trying to say, oh, they were sinful people. They don't matter. Who cares? Well, they should have been obedient. Boy, I tell you, with the same judgment you judge others, you shall be judged. So watch your butt. Watch your butt. Watch the way that you judge the Hebrews and the way they responded to Yahweh. Take into consideration the way Yahweh is treating them, mistreating them, starving them to death in the middle of a desert. All right, it's not fun. It's not a joke. That's what actually happened. All right. And they pitched camp in Rephidim. Now, there was no water for the people to drink. There's no water for the people to drink. Why is Yahweh leading them? He's God, isn't he? He knows everything, right? I mean, that's what Christians think. Yet he leads them to a place where there's no water. What? What are you doing? Trying to kill these people? Well, we know you are. So the people contend with Moses, and they said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you contend with me? Why do you test Yahweh? See, Moses already knows what he's like. This is just 45 days in, remember? 6 weeks. But the people were very thirsty there for water, and they murmured against Moses and said, why in the world did you bring us up from Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? Now, it's interesting, why aren't the cattle being used for food? Well, if the cattle are being used for food, they're all going to go away. But soon, Yahweh's going to tell them to start cooking barbecues for him. The sacrifices, the pleasing aroma in his nostrils. I mean, it's interesting if you listen to anyone talking about the carnivore diet today and the best cuts of meat to be eating, like especially the offal and the fat from around the organs. It's funny how that's what Yahweh asked for. Yahweh's been doing the carnivore diet for a long time. So let's wrap it up here. You start to see already, like, I think a lot of people probably just looked at some of these two passages here and went, wow, I never knew any of this stuff. Oh, just wait. It gets a little tiny bit worse. Man, we're 6 weeks in. We've got a little bit to go yet, but we are now at 24 minutes here. So this is already longer than I wanted it to be. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow or the next day with the next one, and we'll pick up right from here. You have an awesome rest of your day, and thanks so much for watching. Share this with somebody. If you're brand new here, go and watch the formal Bible studies like Two Gardens and a Snake and Who is Yahweh and the other ones like that on my channel. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Rumble. You can find them on Library, which is now called Odyssey, and a few other places. Twitter, of course, X, Facebook. I think they're in a lot of places. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and please come watch the next one, because this is going to be a real wild ride that it's going to take several weeks for us to get through this, and it's going to be fun. Okay? It's going to be illuminating. It's going to be a little sad at times too. Take care. Bye-bye.